Heyo everybody, Haku here with my review for Fire Force Rennen no Shouboutai, Episode 7. So I thought it was hilarious. I really enjoyed this one a lot. I really like the new characters, especially the ones from the first. I really enjoyed these new First Division characters, especially Kareem. He is hilarious. He's great. I love it. I really like Rekka too. But yeah, either way, let's talk about this a bit. See, I thought it was hilarious. There is one small nitpick, and that's that I don't really like the romance aspect of Princess Hibana's character. But I've also got to say, Princess Hibana's character got a ton of development last week, and still actually got a bunch of development this week too. I think she's actually a really great character, with the exception of that sort of just really shoehorned in romance stuff. But other than that, she's actually a really great character, maybe one of my favorite ones. But yeah, the new characters are amazing. The production looked great as always. And one thing about the first is my first reaction watching this episode was that I trust them, actually, because I feel like it would be super easy to make them the bad guys. In fact, it would be too easy to make them the bad guys, which is why I think I trust them. But then upon my second time watching, I remembered, it hit me. We see that Tamaki, I think is her name, who is supposed to be in the first, is in the 8th in the opening. So this makes me think, maybe they will be the bad guys and they'll get beaten, and that's why she joins the 8th. So just one of those situations where my immediate first thought was, oh, I trust them. And then the opening, I was like, the opening may have shaken that trust. This might be somewhat spoilerish even. But yeah, those were just some general thoughts I had. Now to talk about things scene by scene with the notes I took watching through the second time. So we see the first and their kind of base for the first time. And while all the bases we've seen so far are somewhat churchish, the fifth was the least so, but while they were all somewhat churchish, the first, since it's connected to the Church of Seoul, is extremely churchish, and they all have very priest-like uniforms. And this is something that I said way back when we learned like sort of the connections of all the different groups back in like episode 3. I was like, the first didn't seem that churchish, so I don't really get the connection, but now I get the connection. We get to see it here. And after the opening, we get to this little cookout party together with the 5th and 8th, and I was so hyped to see Won Won Yain again. Every time we see Won Won Yain, I have the Won Won Yain hype. Yeah. One thing, again, I loved about this party was seeing the Fifth Angels 3 out of their costume. I thought that was hilarious. There were a lot of things this episode that made me legitimately laugh aloud. And that was one of them, seeing the Fifth Angels 3 out of costume. I think that was a really good gag. But we have this really good scene with Princess Hibana and with Akitaru Obi together. And I like that she's bringing up, the fifth, like, as a general thing, can't, like, it's all in bed with Hajime Industries and everything. We can't, like, just start going and working with you, but I can personally. So Princess Hibana is personally working with the 8th, but she can't really just have the whole 5th work with the 8th. That doesn't really work. We sort of get confirmation that Iris was Obi's sort of ace up his sleeve to deal with Hibana if worse came to worse. So it's one of those things where, from her point of view, he's not the most innocent person, and I think this adds into his character too, where he's definitely a good guy. We see that everything he's doing is for the benefit of citizens and trying to make things the best for them, the easiest on them, but in somewhat of a deeper sense, he's willing to do some kind of gray area-ish things. Like, I never think he would hurt Iris, of course, but to bring someone that's close to Hibana into his inner circle in order to help him deal with her because he needs her information shows him just willing to go to certain lengths to get at the information. So I think that actually adds some complexity to his character too. Now, Hibana explaining her change of heart is really good too. One big thing I think that summarizes it all is that she now believes that she was wrong to try to fight evil with evil. And I think that's a really good summarization, a really good quote from her there, that she thinks she was wrong to fight evil with evil. Now, the information that she has that the Eighth wanted, she gives to them. And this information is that some infernals are just like spontaneous human combustion, but some of the infernals that the Fifth found are different. They're man-made or made into infernals by someone. So Hibana wants revenge on whoever caused the fire at the church, if indeed it was one of those ones that was caused by a person. So she wants to investigate that, and she wants her revenge if the church was one of those. And she also tells them that the ones that were different, the ones that were, I don't know a better word than man-made, were seen mostly around Shinjuku, which is the first sort of jurisdiction. So from there we have this fan service scene. Now ordinarily I would dislike, I don't know, it really wasn't that bad. There wasn't really anything to dislike about it. But we have this fan service scene, and Maki was so cute and funny in it. I love that, because we've seen before her personality, whenever anybody sort of brings up anything negative about her looks, she just jumps and blows it way out of proportion. And who are you calling a gorilla cyclops? But on the opposite hand, when Princess Hibana sort of says something positive about her, I love that where she blows the negative out of proportion, we got to see her personality stay the same and sort of consistent with her getting positive praise like that, and she just like takes the praise super highly and everything. It was actually really, really funny and fit perfectly with the gags that have been going on with her character. I loved it. I also love in the scene where they're all talking, Hinawa's face, it's great, because it's one thing in animation and in acting where they're like, how do you draw angry eyes without eyebrows? And it becomes more difficult because a lot of the emotion we show on our faces as humans is shown by like where our eyelids sit on our eyes, on the top and bottom, whether we're sad, angry, happy. A lot's told by like where our eyelids sit on our eyes, and you can see that when you look at all the characters and their emotions, and then you get to Hinawa, and he just has these like really wide, serious eyes at all times. He never like blinks during any of the time when the close-up is on his face talking. It's great. I love it. Hinawa, I think, might be my favorite character. I'm not sure though. I really like Maki. It's probably Maki or Hinawa, but I like Princess Hibana too. And depending on how much more we get to see of them, it could end up being Rekka or Kareem. I really like both of them. So from there, we learned that Arthur, Shinra, and two others, one from the Fifth and one from the Second, are all being sent to the First for sort of like exchange training, whatever. This is when we get to first see Kareem. He's hilarious, the best. I freaking love it. And one of the best parts too about him, like basically having these tongue twister lines that he delivers, is every time he does it, and Arthur's just like, what? Like, that is one of my favorite things, where he has this really, really confusing line, and it happens like 2 or 3 times in the episode, and Arthur just goes, what? So that's one of the best things. I love it. From there, Shinra challenges Burns in order to gather info, which is, on the one hand, kind of a very aggressive move to make, but on the other hand, a pretty smart move, actually. Like, obviously, I don't even think he thought he could actually beat him and get him to tell him information, but even doing what he did is probing a little bit. It's getting a foot in the door a little bit, so to speak. So I actually think it's a pretty smart move. We get to see Tamaki again finally this episode, and Tamaki, I think for me, straddles this line. I know a lot of people have been talking about not liking her. For me, she really straddles this line, this border between funny and annoying, where I can watch the same scene with her and like lean towards funny, sometimes saying it, but lean, like, because I watch every episode twice, or lean towards annoying. Like, because I don't know, the first time I watched this episode, I was like, ooh, she is kind of a grating character, isn't she? But then the second time I watched it, I was like, okay, I can dig this. I can be okay with this. So I felt like she was funnier the second time watching this episode, but I do totally get where people are coming from that do say they find her annoying. I get where they're coming from. So yeah, she really straddles that border for me. I love Rekka too. His fight with, what was his name? Takeru Noto was great. And he mentions that because his parents own a Jagaimo, is that what it is? Potato farm, that everybody always called him Jaganoto or Juggernaut. So all of that was really funny. All of it was really good. I love the back and forth where Rekka's just shouting about how great it is to see a rookie with such sublime fire and ability and everything, and at the same time we have Noto yelling about, no, but that's why I joined. I want my fire to be put out. This is too much. I'm scared of it. So I love that we have so long of this scene is not any actual fighting. It's just the two of them yelling back and forth and totally not being on the same page at all. It's great. Now we get to see Kareem's powers using the what was it? The thermoacoustic cooling abilities and items. It's really, I'm saying abilities, but the abilities come from the items basically. But I think that it's super super cool. It's very unique and creative, and of course there is some fantasy aspect to it obviously, but that is a real existing legitimate thing. So again, it's really really cool. I love the scene where Tamaki finally shows up and she's running up to join the rest of the people from the first, and on her way running up, she just kicks Shinra in the butt and keeps running. It's so nonchalantly and casually. I really, really thought that was funny too. And there's one scene, I noticed it my first time watching, but I could never find it. I guess I wasn't paying attention enough my second time watching while I was taking notes, or I just missed it somewhere. I scrubbed back through a couple scenes trying to find it, but I could swear the first time I watched this episode, one scene that really made me laugh out loud was, I don't remember if it was Rekka or Kareem, it was probably the two of them arguing, but at one point one character says something and then we cut back to the other, and then we cut back and the other's in the background just like flicking him off, throwing up the middle finger in the background, and it's so good. It was so funny. It had me dying the first time, and I swear that happened. I swear I'm not just like, I hope at least that I'm not just like making it up. I swear I saw that the first time I watched this episode, but I tried to find it my second time through watching and I could never figure out where it was at. I went to all the scenes that I thought it was at, couldn't find it. But either way, it was very, very funny, and I'm going to just believe it was there. So then lastly, we get to see Shinra and Arthur versus Burns. Again, it was very cool. His power is being kept sort of mysterious. He could just be using flame control like a second generation at a very, very high level, but I would think he's a third generation. He is kind of old, but I don't know if age really matters that much. No clue. But if he is a third generation, what I think his ability could be is sort of similar to the, what was it called, heat occlusion that Princess Abana used. I think he could be using the heat to expand the air, because especially when Shinra got hit in the chest, it looked like he stomped his foot down and then Shinra just took an air bullet to the chest. So I think that if I were to guess what his powers are, I'm guessing he uses the heat to expand the air, pretty much creating air bullets, and it could also explain how he was able to block the attacks from Arthur and Shinra by creating a cushion of heated air, of course heated air expanding, in order to block the attacks. So that would be my prediction of what his ability is. But yeah, and the ending scene was great too, where Kareem just has these two lines that are both just absolutely nuts with the tongue twisteriness, and after these two like crazy lines, Arthur just goes, "What?" And then episode ends. So good. I thought it was hilarious. The comedy was really, really good. I loved the new characters from the first. So yeah, I love the characters, love the comedy, and I'd give it 8 transfer students, because that's kind of what they are right now, 8 transfer students out of 10. So yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I hope you did too. So either way, thank you for watching the video, and if you did like the video, comment down there to tell me what you thought of this episode or what you thought of my thoughts on it and all that. Subscribe for more Fire Force, much more on the channel. Follow on Twitter if you want. I can try to keep you updated there and stuff for the channel or talk to you there. If you want a link to our Discord server to talk to me or more of us about anything there, then just ask and I can give you a link. It's free and open for anyone. And if you want to help support the channel on Patreon and keep it going, a link to the Patreon will be in the description. And patrons get to vote on a new series for the channel every 3 months. And the first one they have voted in, that I'll be starting tomorrow, is Assassination Classroom. So hope you're excited for that too. So yeah, I'll be reviewing that weekly starting tomorrow. But yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for watching once again. And I'll see you all next time.